This video will demonstrate the proper assembly procedure for a SAE 37-degree flare, commonly referred to as a JIC connection. When properly assembled, this connection is highly reliable and leak-free. This type of connection consists of two parts, the first being a male thread with an external 37-degree flare. The second part is a mating female thread with an internal mating cone. This connection will either be a swivel connection, like a swivel hose end, or a rigid female, such as a tube cap. The connection is made when the female thread is tightened over the male fitting, mating the flare and the cone together. Applying force slightly deforms the cone and meshes them together, creating a metal-to-metal seal. To begin assembly, follow these steps. Inspect both the male fitting and mating female for possible damage or contamination. Replace if damaged. It is always best to keep the fittings capped and plugged prior to this step to avoid potential contamination. Lubrication at this step is critical. Lubricate the male or female threads as well as the mating cone or flare with system fluid or other compatible light lubricant. A single drop swabbed on the flare or cone and a single drop on the thread is sufficient. Since plating types and thicknesses vary, lubrication not only helps to provide a more constant coefficient of friction, it also increases the clamping force between the cone and the flare. To not lubricate is to sacrifice quality for expediency. Align the mating components and begin assembly by turning the female nut by hand until the cone and flare make contact. Using a wrench, continue to tighten the female nut until firm resistance is felt. This is the point referred to as wrench resistance. At this point, a few different methods can be followed. One common method is the use of a torque wrench. Tompkins, however, recommends using the flats from wrench resistance method. Following this method will minimize any effects of variations in plating and surface smoothness. Another large advantage of this method is that it requires no special tools, such as a torque wrench, or the need to calibrate them. After the point of wrench resistance is achieved, make a witness mark using a marker to create an indication line between the female nut and the mating component. When a backup wrench pad is available, place one wrench on the pad to prevent the hose or fitting from turning and use the second wrench to tighten the female nut. The amount of rotation will depend on the size of the connection being made. Once the female nut has been turned the appropriate amount of wrench flats, make a second witness mark on the mating surface in line with the witness mark previously made on the female nut. These offset witness marks will give a visual indication that this connection has been properly assembled. Following these instructions and using proper routing techniques for the mating hose or tube assembly will ensure a reliable and leak-free connection.
Thank you for calling Tompkins.